Don't do a mic check that your mouth can't cash.
Ridiculousness.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
This is where we go to heaven? I
Okay.
just like my bread unleavened?
Dead air, dead air.
Dead air.
Quick, say something.
No! Hello and welcome to another episode of Embassy Exclusive. This is a monthly supplemental show for fans of the VG Embassy Game Music Podcast. I'm Ed.
I'm Joe.
I'm Todd.
And each month we get together and share video game music, the latest news in gaming, and our pumpkin-spiced opinions on both.
Gross.
This is episode 49 for September 2023, and we hope you enjoy it.
The heck with you, sir.
Not
Gross.
a pumpkin spice fan.
I mean, no, I like pumpkin spice
You don't
as
like
a
the
concept,
stigma behind
but
it.
I don't like
Okay.
the whole pumpkin
I mean, I'm
spice
not-
lattes and pumpkin spice cup noodles and pumpkin spice.
Well, yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm not all suburban girl in yoga pants about it or anything. But I enjoy the flavor.
Yeah, pumpkin spice
I like-
coffee is real good.
I like pumpkin pie, the original pumpkin spice.
Yeah, exactly.
Pumpkin beer every now and then,
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
but only one.
I can't
maybe
have a
two.
lot of that stuff. They don't really. Pumpkin pie has both dairy and wheat. Pumpkin beer has wheat. So pumpkin coffee is about as good as I can get at this point. So I'll take what I can get. Anyways, so before we start the show, I just wanted to remind everybody that there are multiple ways to hang out with the VG Embassy. We got a lot of really good feedback from the Sega CD episode last month. So I know you guys are out there and you want to chat, and I'm really trying to, I guess, drive a little more interaction with the audience for this show. I mean, basically, we're here to serve you guys. We want to know what you like, what you don't like, what you want more of. So don't forget, if you're not on our Discord, you can always head over to thevgembassy.com and you can comment on posts over there. I get emailed for every single comment that's left, and I will definitely read them and respond. I'd love to start some discussions over there. As well, you can always email me at thevgembassy@gmail.com. I'd love to, hear what you think about the shows and all of our releases and stuff. Also, if you are a Patreon member, you will have noticed that you got an email about a new episode of VGM Primetime, which is a mini episode that I'll be doing every month specifically for Patreon patrons. Last episode, I did a follow-up to the Sega CD with 4 more songs, about 35 minutes worth of bonus content. So for $1 a month, you get a lot of extra VG Embassy content for your buck. So consider running over to patreon.com/thevgembassy, joining up, and checking out the new stuff. Plus all the back episodes of Embassy Exclusive that are still not available to the public, that are all the ones that were Patreon exclusive are still Patreon exclusive on that RSS feed. So, feel free to take part and imbibe yourself on those as well. Anyways, top of the show business down. Hey guys, how's it going?
So,
What's up?
All right, moving on. So my song is...
No. I want to hear what you guys have been up to. It's been a month since we hung out. Any new games? Any new life developments?
so I'm gonna beat Todd to the chase on this one. We're both playing Sea of Stars. I've been very happy with it so far. I enjoy the music. I enjoy the setting. I enjoy the gameplay. I do hope, and Todd's a little further into it than I am, so he can probably speak to this. I hope it gets a little more complex. Like the battle is straight turn-based, like Super Nintendo era. There's not, I'll say, much to it. You attack or you do a special skill. There's a mini game called Wheels that you can play, and I'm hoping that gets a little more complex too, because I'm only, I'll say, like 10, 12 hours into it, and right now it's mostly like luck-based. But I like it. It has a great feel to it. Like I said, I enjoy the music, the storyline. I like where it's going. I hope it gets a little more, not difficult, but complex. Like I hope it more multifaceted or more to it.
Well, I like simple, so you're actually piquing my interest now.
Todd, does it get more so as the game progresses?
I'm going to not answer that question just on a spoiler basis, not only for you, but for the listeners. The game is pretty new still, and I'm very late in the game. I believe I'm at the very end of it. In fact, I was playing it this morning before we came to record this, hoping that I could wrap it up, and it just didn't happen. Unless there's another storyline twist, I believe I'm basically at the end. So I don't really want to discuss too in depth my experience with the game right now, and certainly without Joe playing more of it and perhaps the listeners having more of an opportunity to play it. So maybe next month we can have a more in-depth discussion. I do have my, overall I'm very much enjoying the game. I do have some minor gripes with it, but I'm not going to bring them up here.
That's fair. I can totally understand that. But your overall impression is good?
I am very much enjoying it, yes. It's very good.
In other news, I took all of the video gaming stuff that I purchased at tag sales over the course of the summer, decided against selling them all individually in pieces, just posted it as one big lot on Facebook, and got a buyer who paid me enough that I can go out and buy a PS5 now. So I've been hemming and hawing over it for months and months and months. And I'm still going to do so because I just can't bring myself to pay full price for anything. So as soon as one goes on sale, I have money specifically put aside for it. So I'll be getting a PS5 soon.
Looking forward to you playing and then us discussing Final Fantasy 16.
Or you can just join the PC Master Race.
I have a Steam Deck. That's close, right?
Close.
I know, it's not quite
You're
there.
not going to be able to play PS5 quality games on a Steam Deck.
No, but that's what the PS5 will accomplish.
Yeah.
And I'll play all my older, PC-only games on the Steam Deck, which I am still enjoying and having fun with. And yeah, that's what's going on with me.
Nobody wants to join me in the Master Race. I understand.
That's quite a statement there, Ed.
PC Master Race, let me just clarify.
That's two references.
There's a bunch of white dudes talking about the Master Race. Anyways.
Listeners, please be advised, this is just Ed, not us.
My opinions do not reflect the rest of the VG Embassy staff. Thank you. Anyhow,
what are you playing?
What am I playing? So I've gotten into Renfield, Bring Your Own Blood. Really, really good. It's extremely loosely based on the Renfield movie that just came out with Nick Cage and Thomas Holt. And it's a Vampire Survivors-like, but there's enough different about it that it feels like a new game. It's not where the whole game doesn't take place like in one area that kind of goes infinitely. Your weapons still fire passively. You still collect, in this case, bugs around the level to level up, and then you get a choice between 3 different weapons or talents, which cause you to make yourself more powerful as you go. But each room is its own individual contained area, and there's a set amount of enemies to kill in that area. And then when you kill them all, you get a choice of, several different entrances to move on to the next room. So I guess it's like Vampire Survivors mixed with like Xenocrisis or Smash TV, that kind of a thing.
Oh, cool.
Each level has a character in it that you need to rescue, and then you can either take that character and sacrifice them to Dracula for some extra gold to buy new power-ups, or you can try to escort them out of the level, which is more difficult, and you end up fighting a boss. But then if you do that 5 times, then you unlock that character as a playable character. So it does give you a little bit of replayability. It's been in early access for ages. It just went on sale because it reached final version 1.0. So there's a ton of content. There's like 14 or 15 different levels, lots of weapons and stuff to unlock. Music's great, presentation is awesome, the pixel art is really, really good, so I'm having a great time with it. I bought it, I think, 2 days ago, and I've already put like 5 or 6 hours into it over those 2 days, so...
I'll have to give that a try.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Vampire Survivors, I enjoyed Brotato, and the only thing I didn't like about Brotato was the lack of music. Or lack of quality.
Yeah, the music's. I shared one track from it on that show that I did last October, and it's okay stuff, but you're better off.
It didn't draw me in the way
Vampire
Vampire
Survivors. Turning the music down and
did.
listening to something on YouTube or
that's what I ended up doing.
Spotify.
So I'll have to give that one a try too.
Yeah, definitely go for it. I think you'll enjoy it. And then as boring simulator games go, I've gotten really into Lawn Mowing Simulator.
Of course you have.
Dear
Of course I have.
God.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
It's actually really good. It's as much growing your lawn mowing business as it is mowing the lawns themselves. But you
not sold.
Joe's face. It's like I told him I just murdered a puppy.
Meanwhile, you got a jungle out back there. And Milo's like, are you going to mow the lawn? No, I'm just pretending.
Just pretending. No, I take very good care of my yard. Thank you.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, no, so I've been watching, I don't know if you guys know Daniel Thrasher on YouTube. He's like a comedian / piano player. But anyways, I've been following him for a long time. I really like his stuff. And he started doing these YouTube videos where he sits down for a half an hour and just talks about a different topic, but as he's doing it, he's playing Lawnmower Simulator. And he's like, when I play this game, it's so cathartic that I could just talk and talk and talk, and I don't use that part of my brain. So I've been watching him play, and I'm like, this actually looks like something I will probably enjoy. So I brought it up in a Discord somewhere. Somebody was talking about how it was just in a bundle on Fanatical. And they had an extra key for it, and he was like, does anybody want this? And I was like, oh yeah, I've been watching Daniel Thrasher play this game and it looks cool, I'll take a key. So I got it for free. It's not like I purchased it. I was like, if it sucks, then whatever. But
I feel like you're hedging.
Ooh,
That was terrible.
that's
Joe.
awesome. Yes, I like it. So the name of my company is Motown USA.
Of course it is.
Yeah. I never told you what my trucking company was called in Truck Simulator.
Do we want to know?
All Night Long.
Oh dear God!
This is the content you're paying for, people.
This has taken a turn.
I mean, leave it to me for the puns and the dad jokes.
It gets better, Patreon subscribers. I hope.
Maybe a little.
I hope.
I've also actually been playing, or I played through 3 indie games that I've been wanting to for a long, long time. The Far series, Far Lone Sails and Far Changing Tides. They are side-scrolling adventure games. No dialogue, but kind of narrative, and that you just kind of going on this journey, kind of like Journey for the PS3, except it's side-scrolling. In Lone Sail, you have a kind of like a train, like a land traversing vehicle that you're in that's like steam powered, and so you're going from left to right. When you go inside the vehicle, you see like a cross cut of the vehicle, and you've got to keep finding sources of fuel in the world and then bringing it into this train and then feeding the fuel and then repairing it as it goes. And it's also got a sail, and you've got a little flag on top of your train that tells you when the wind is favorable to you. Then you can open the sail and you can travel longer distances without having to use the fuel that you find. Plus, as you go, you run into blockades, and then you have to go into these kind of derelict buildings. It all takes place in like a post-apocalyptic world. And you have to get things operational so you can open up a gate so you can keep going. So it was really, really good. It's about like 2 hours long, but the music is fantastic, and it's just a fun little journey to go through. And then the sequel is very much the same kind of premise, but you're on a sailing vessel instead of a land vessel. And then you can also dive under the water, and so it's a submarine / sailboat. And same kind of premise. You are trying to get through these areas. You'll get blockaded at certain points, and you can either put on a diving suit and kind of jet around the water and figure out your way through, or you can, run around on land as well. So had a really good time with both of those. They do kind of interconnect at the end, like the whole story kind of ties itself together if you play one then the other. So I really enjoyed that part. So I had fun with those. And then the last one was Somerville. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Wasn't that a PSP game a long time ago?
No, it's a relatively new indie game. So you guys know like Limbo and Inside,
yeah,
right? So one of the co-founders of the development company that made those 2 games broke off and made Somerville. So it is very much like an evolution in Limbo and Inside.
Oh, neat.
I'm in.
Yeah, you play a guy who's the world suddenly gets attacked by aliens. You get separated from your family. And then your journey through this world is to kind of just basically get through puzzly things like in Limbo and Inside. It's not it's explicitly 2D like Limbo and Inside were. It's you can walk around freely, but it's not like open world. It's like in a beat 'em up. It's like 2.5D. It's still side scrolling, but there's a depth to your movement instead of just jumping Super Mario style. Fantastic story. Couple different endings that you can get, and it's got abilities where there's like alien substance all over the world. It's either in liquid or solid form. Yeah, it's weird. It's like a blocky kind of like a bismuth like kind of a thing where kind of crystallizes and forms. Okay. And it could either be like liquid where you can walk through it, or it could be solid and you have this power on your arm where you can freeze or liquefy this stuff, and that's how you kind of manage these puzzles that you come across. And you can also use it to like create energy and work machines and everything. So it was really cool. 3 games that I definitely recommend, especially if you like wordless narrative adventure games. All 3 are kind of in that same style. So I've been playing a lot this last month, but I had a lot of fun with all of them. So top recommendations for everything, especially Lawnmower Simulator. It's action-packed.
Oh, just
all right.
Terrible.
Well, I'll be brief. I finished Islets. I think I was wrapping that up last month.
Yep.
Very good. Highly recommend. Joe, I think you would like it. Ed, you might also like it because it is sort of a laid-back sort of Metroidvania, not too difficult. I played a game called Creeks, which is a puzzle platformer. Absolutely dripping with atmosphere. Really great art.
Creaks or
Creakes, like creaking chairs or stairs or something like that.
Okay, but there's an E after the K?
Creakes.
Well, if it's like the door creaks, then it's
KS.
Yeah,
sorry,
okay.
no E.
Oh, okay. That makes more.
My brain going
No worries.
Really, really good. It is just like a series of what they call scenes, which are just basically puzzles, where you have to try to get through like a ramshackle, broken down, half destroyed mansion to get to the other side, basically. And
cool.
It's a series of puzzles done really well. The art is great. I very much enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. That sounds like something you'd be interested in.
Definitely.
And of course, I'm playing Sea of Stars.
Nice. That's about it.
Anything
you've been playing besides Sea of Stars, Joe?
I had played Brotato before that, and now that it's getting to be spooky season, I am watching lots and lots of horror films and that sort of thing. So my gaming is fallen off a little bit in the last month, but I'm enjoying Sea of Stars.
Cool. Very good. All right, let's move on to our topics. We will start off as usual with Todd. What songs are we playing tonight?
My track for today is the Shinra theme from the Final Fantasy VII Remake released in 2020. This was originally composed by Nobuo Uematsu.
Cool. I like the original. I don't think I've heard the remake yet.
Welcome back. That was Shinra theme from the Final Fantasy VII Remake, released in the first part anyway, was released in 2020. There are 2 more parts forthcoming. And this was originally composed by Nobuo Uematsu. And weirdly, this does kind of play into my track. First of all, that's a great song.
Yeah, great remake.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And the remake makes it that much better. Was never a huge original Final Fantasy fan. Not my favorite Final Fantasy anyway. But I thought the remake was excellent, so... I doubt that there's anybody listening to this that is unfamiliar with it, so I think I'll pretty much just leave it at that. But it does play into my topic a little bit today, which is, do you guys prefer a remake or a remaster of a game that you've played, like a game that you love from your childhood, or even more recent that you have a strong nostalgia for? Do you prefer a spiritual sequel to a game that you love, or a completely new game made in the style of? And of course, this is stemming from my play of Sea of Stars right now, which, as everybody knows, is paying some pretty strong homage to Chrono Trigger,
right?
At least in its play style and its art style, and even some of its music, like the intro screen music definitely has a reminiscent feel to the intro music of Chrono Trigger, I thought anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
was that one of the ones composed by Mitsuto?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But this also, plays into things like the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which isn't a remake of Final Fantasy VII, the original game. It is a remake of the Final Fantasy VII story. It's the same
it's a
kind
retelling
of story, but retold with new elements and changed things, and in the same world with the same characters, but basically all like done from the ground up. Starting from scratch, and I thought it was excellent. And other games like Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, things like that, where it's the same game redone. Does that? I mean, we've talked about this before. You mentioned my cash grab question. Is it better? Do you prefer things like that, or do you prefer something like Sea of Stars, where it is very reminiscent of a game you might love, but is a completely new experience?
I feel like, just a game where they upgrade the graphics and keep everything the same, like The Last of Us remasters, for instance, I don't feel like they're worth playing, especially if you've played the originals, because, I don't put as much weight in graphics as I think the average gamer does. Like, it's not worth just playing through it just to see some prettier scenery and stuff. As far as between spiritual sequels and a retelling, like you said, of the same game, that's hard, because it's really like a case-by-case basis. Like, one of my favorite games of all time, Bionic Commando, got Bionic Commando Rearmed, which is essentially like what Final Fantasy Remake is to the original Final Fantasy. It's an updated version. It's the same kind of story with the same basic levels, but with so much added to it that it's absolutely not a one-to-one remake at all. And what they added was awesome. And you can enjoy them both, the original and the remake, and have 2 similar but different enough experiences that you still want to play both for what they are. Which I think is what Final Fantasy VII and VII Remake are as well. You can still go back and get that Final Fantasy VII original experience, and it doesn't ruin the remake, and vice versa. So I think that's a fantastic way to do it. But then there are games like, Axiom Verge, which we bring up constantly as a Metroid love letter, but not in the Metroid series. Or even one of my favorite games, Wreckfest, which was kind of a love letter to the original Flat Out racing game series, made by the same devs, but because they removed it from Flat Out, they took it in a slightly different direction and could play around with it a little bit more. And
would that be considered more of a spiritual sequel, though?
I guess it's kind of a spiritual sequel.
Not a completely new...
Right, I'm just kind of giving different examples of everything that you've kind of listed in the question. So, I don't know. I guess my answer is anything as long as it's good.
That's a fair answer, because there's good and bad examples of both, I suppose.
Yeah, right? there aren't any,
or of all three, rather.
Yeah, there aren't any items on this list, spiritual sequel, remake, remaster, that immediately make me say, ugh, unless it's just a simple graphics upgrade and that's it. So I guess that's considered the remaster. So I guess of the different kinds of remakes, remasters, spiritual sequels, remaster would be like the bottom of my preferred list. I would prefer a remake like the Final Fantasy or a spiritual sequel like Axiom Verge, Sea of Stars, etc.
You're right. You originally said the first thing you said was talking about not really wanting to replay a game just with updated graphics because it's the same story and whatever. I don't mind doing that if it's a game that has been released for a long time. And it's remade, updated for current gen systems, updated graphics, maybe even an updated engine, something like that. But is the same story. I'm fine with that. It's when they do a remake, like from one gen to the next, like The Last of Us,
right?
Was
PS3,
released on PS3
PS5.
and then was remastered for PS4 only a few years later, and that just kind of feels like a cash grab,
right?
Like there really wasn't that much different about it that I could tell. I didn't really play the remake, but it did come with my PS4, so I do have it. But that's. I guess you could consider it a bad example of something like that because it's coming out so soon. There's not such a hardware or programming change since the original came out that it's going to be insanely different, right? Or such an overwhelmingly different experience.
And it also seems like when they do those remakes, a lot of times they find something to screw up and they do it with pizzazz, like any of the Silent Hill remasters have all had qualities to them which make it far inferior to the originals, whether it's texture issues, voice acting issues, just general controller jank. Even Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, I think the remasters had their fair share of issues. Still playable, but there were some glaring things that they have got wrong when they were doing it. So.
I understood Shadow of Colossus was really just like a graphics upgrade. And the control and everything was all like the original engine that was on PS2, and so all the jank that you got on the remake or the upgrade or whatever you want to call that
was
existed in the original.
That makes sense. Okay, so not like a Silent Hill botch job.
It makes it feel, I'll say, on the cheaper side when they do stuff like that, like with the Silent Hill ones. I've been getting into a bit of Zelda Link to the Past homages lately. I forgot to mention this up at the beginning, or maybe I talked about it last month, but I played a game called Blossom Tales. Well, actually, it was Blossom Tales 2. I had played the first one like a few years ago when it came out, but the second one came out this past summer, and I played it about a month ago. And it's essentially a love letter to Link to the Past. It plays very similarly, feels similar. The one change in that one is that the entire story is told from the perspective of a grandfather telling a story to his grandkids about like this adventure they go on. And the thing I like about it is every now and then, like when they're about to enter a boss fight or something like that, the grandfather will say, "And out stepped a big giant," and then the little boy will go, "Robot," and the little girl will go, "Dragon," and then you as the player get to decide, and what you pick, like that's the boss you fight. Neat. And I imagine, I've only played through it once, I imagine that the bosses are going to be comparable in terms of their difficulty and like what special item you just got from that dungeon that you'll need to defeat it. But I liked that twist to it. But otherwise the game feels like Link to the Past, as did Rogue Heroes, which I played a couple of years ago. The dungeons are all very Link to the Past style, or rather, the overworld was very Link to the Past style, but the dungeons were all procedurally generated, which was a cool twist.
Oh, that's cool.
Or Moonlighter, which had Zelda-like dungeons, but then that whole other aspect where you have to, sell the items you get to build your shop.
Yeah, so gameplay loop built into that.
Yeah, and so I really like when they do something in the style of do it well, but make one vital change, or like make it their own in one important, noticeable way. But it has that otherwise very familiar feel and gameplay style to it. So I've been really getting into that, and I think for that reason I really am enjoying Sea of Stars so far, because of the obvious homage to Chrono Trigger, but it's it feels more modern, it feels current, and it has I'm enjoying it so far for those reasons. So I'm less about the remastering and more about the new game in the style of an existing game. Although, with that said, I wouldn't say no to a Final Fantasy VI remaster, but like a really in the vein of the Final Fantasy VII remaster.
I was just going to say, you just got one. It's called Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster.
And that's phenomenal. And I've been playing that in my spare time, and I go to that all the time, and I have the soundtrack on my phone that I just turn to whenever I just need to smile because it makes me so happy. I think I talked about that a couple of episodes ago, and I still feel that way about it. But I would love to see, like, complete from the ground up, done for a modern console, modern era, modern gaming.
Agreed. That was a fantastic story with a lot of really cool imagery that would look so good in 3D.
It's my favorite game of all time, and even if it was just a cash grab, I would still give my cash because it's Final Fantasy VI, and I would do that. But yeah, I would love to see it get the full treatment.
I don't disagree with you, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see it today.
Yeah, I know. But that's why I'm loving pixel remasters and otherwise loving new games in the style of existing games.
Yeah,
fair.
Okay. So I think general consensus is anything but
anything but bad stuff.
Yeah.
Do a good job with it and you can have my money.
Indeed. All right, so let's read what some of our patrons had to say on the topic. Ryan Steele says, preferences, who wants them? If I haven't played the game before, but it has a following, I want a remaster with quality of life updates. Full-on remakes are great when the game concept is great, but the mechanics need love. An example being the Resident Evil GameCube remake. Spiritual successor if the developer is never going to touch the IP again, and I need more like it. That's also a good point. Spiritual sequels, if that series is like just dead, it's a good kind of, and a lot of those games are made because it's understood that there's no more games, and they're kind of made almost out of necessity. Like the developer just needs to see something like that being made.
Mighty Number 9 would like to have a word with you.
Oh, I wanted to like that game so much.
So did everybody.
Yeah.
I wanted that.
Ryan goes on to say, completely new game, you say? Anything in XCOM or Fire Emblem tactical format excites me. Recently, it was Baldur's Gate 3 because all tactical games are based on the principles of tabletop RPG combat. Is Baldur's Gate 3 tactical?
I haven't played it yet, but I didn't think so.
I thought it was more of like an RPG just based on Dungeons and Dragons system.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to take a closer look at that.
Yeah,
It's tactical. I mean, because I'm definitely into the tactical games, and I didn't think that was going to be one of them.
Yeah, tactics games are, I don't know, I've tried. I even tried with Mario plus Rabbids as like a, hey, this is a great beginners into tactical stuff. And I played it for a couple hours, and I was like, it's not for me, so.
Me either. I started with like Warcraft and stuff like that, and I enjoyed them to a point, and then the point where I couldn't get past a level pretty much stopped me in my tracks, and that was it.
For what it's worth, though, real-time strategy is very different from turn-based. The Final Fantasy Tactics, Mario plus Rabbids, Fire Emblem style is completely different than Warcraft, Age of Empires, StarCraft, the best known real-time ones.
Right.
There's, I'll say, well, for the obvious reasons, they're almost completely different genres in my opinion. But
no, I completely agree, and that's why I think, make that distinction whenever anybody talks about a game like that, because there are people that just like turn-based, just like real-time. Ryan also makes a good point about remakes. If it's a game that you've never played before, which makes sense. But in the case, going back to The Last of Us again, it's like everybody played that game, and they're bringing it out a couple years later. Everybody has still already played that game. Sorry. It hasn't gone to a next generation where people are like, oh, my dad played this. What's this all about?
I do like the idea of remasters for games that we never got here. But again, it would have to be done well. Like I tried to play Live Alive this past spring for Switch, and I just didn't like it. I wanted to. Like I went into it, it's a classic Square RPG that I've never played before, that never made its way over here. Yes, this is going to be great, but I just didn't dig the battle system, and I don't know, I had a hard time getting into it, so it didn't do it for me. But I liked the idea, and that's what got me to start playing it in the first place.
Yeah.
So I would definitely give other games like that like I really got into not Secret of Mana.
Trials of Mana?
Trials of Mana, when that one came out, for the exact same reason. So I would definitely support games that never made their way over here, but that would be made available to me in a modern remaster form, like, Terranigma or something like that. I think would be amazing.
Yeah, no, completely agree there.
I mean, Terranigma is available. You're not going to get an original cart, but like you can get the game and it is in English. It's very playable.
Oh, I know. But I would, if they released a remaster for it, that's a thing I would be comfortable buying because it's a game that I've always wanted to physically own outside of, a translated ROM.
Well, Quintet no longer exists, and I don't know that it's known who owns those IPs, so
yeah,
probably not going to see anything like that.
Bummer.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mike Stark says, sorry for the essay, this is a topic I feel strongly about. Remasters are almost always cheap cash grab attempts to capitalize on nostalgia for minimal effort on behalf of the developers of the remaster. It's the same game that already existed. If the old original game was good, then what's stopping people from playing it? Well, we had a whole discussion about that last month, about games that aren't really available anymore.
Right.
But anyway, he continues, if the thing keeping someone from playing the original game is a lack of hardware and the player does not want to emulate, remasters are almost acceptable, except they are still the worst way for game companies to offer access to the original game. A better way would be to release the game on a virtual console type of system. If the thing keeping someone from playing the original game is its outdated graphics, then guess what? You probably don't like the original game. That's fair. I have very little sympathy for people who think improved graphics turn a bad game into a good game. Remakes can be a different story. Remakes give developers an opportunity to improve on outdated mechanics or to fix up the old game or add new content, etc. Some remakes are among my favorite games. Metroid Zero Mission and Resident Evil for GameCube come to mind as really well done remakes.
Isn't that the opposite of what Ryan said? Resident Evil on GameCube being
kind of, yeah.
not a good example.
I'm with him 100% on Metroid Zero Mission because the original Metroid for Nintendo is much harder to play nowadays.
Yep.
Anyway, he continues. I'm actually worried that the trend of the gaming industry will lean more and more into remakes and remasters, as for some reason these seem to be very profitable. Many purchases for relatively minimal effort means good margins. But if game developers are financially incentivized to make remasters, remakes more than actually new games, then why would they take a risk on a new entry or a new IP? A spiritual sequel can be really neat. It means another game company has a shot to make something truly unique that's inspired by, but not the same as the original. I'm thinking of Metroid Prime or Metroid Dread, which, while still in the main Metroid franchise, were developed by third-party companies and dramatically reimagined the Metroid formula. And they're both fantastic games. But a spiritual sequel can also be a miss. I've heard that Banjo-Kazooie fans are very disappointed in Yooka-Laylee, despite the attempt to be a very faithful spiritual sequel. The absolute best option, in my opinion, is a completely new game made in the style of an existing game. Be completely free of the change of the original game and make something truly new and unique. Sure, the game could possibly be bad, but it could also be good.
I think Sea of Stars is a great example of that concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He brings up, the point of a low effort for high profit, and I have misgivings about that, but I also like it because if a developer can use a remaster as a way to make a bunch of money with kind of not much effort going into it, then that means that they've got money to make more better games because they've got more in their bank account. So if it's a company that is doing it in order to put out better quality content for the consumer, then great. If they're using it just so the staff can get better bonuses, then, so the bigwigs can get better bonuses. Staff deserve the bonuses. But, it really depends on how they're using that money that they're making to grow the company and to make it better, or to just buy another Maserati or something.
Yeah,
I can see that going either way.
It's a good point. Like, what is it? Low effort games that are released. What is it? Remakes or remasters that seem to be very profitable because they take relatively less effort and reap huge rewards. I immediately thought of the Metroid Prime remaster that was just released. Nintendo probably full well knowing that Metroid Prime fans are getting a little restless about there being the complete lack of news about Prime 4, said, well, we got to throw something at them. And so they made this, and, it worked. People snapped up the physical copies of it, and there was a lot of talk about it and whatnot for a while. So I haven't played it yet, but from clips of it and whatnot that I saw, it kind of just it is the same game, but like a graphics upgrade.
Yeah, and then there's also games like Wind Waker, where they didn't really. It's not really a remake, but it's more like an enhancement of it.
Oh, you mean the Wii U? What do they call it? The high definition version or whatever?
Yeah, where it's now like in widescreen, and they kind of removed all of the things that people didn't like they added like fast travel and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you would call that. I would just maybe call it enhanced, because they didn't really change the graphics or anything. They just kind of took what was there and made it a little bit better. So
right.
I don't. That's a kind of, I guess, a separate classification,
right,
in and of itself.
And they made some like gameplay changes, as you mentioned, the fast travel. I don't know what else is different about it.
They just re-released it on a different console using the powers of that console. So that I don't mind either. If there was a game that had potential but definitely had flaws, and the next generation console gave them the opportunity to release a very similar game but fixed all those flaws, then sure, I'm down for
There's
that.
definitely something to be said for quality of life upgrades.
Yeah.
I don't know if either you guys may not have seen, but Digital Eclipse has just released I don't want to call it a remake or a remaster. It's actually neither, but an overlay would be maybe the best way to put it for the original Wizardry.
I was going to actually tell you about that on Discord, and I totally forgot.
It's the original Apple II version running behind the scenes with a graphical layer and quality of life stuff, and
it's like a reskin almost.
Yeah, but like you can even I bought it, of course. While you're playing, you can see the original game like in the lower corner.
Neat.
Playing like while you're seeing the nicer
neat.
like
picture-in-picture
graphical
kind of
version. Like picture-in-picture, but you see the original graphics and the original text and all that, and the overlaid version at the same time.
So that's a situation like we were talking about before, where a remaster makes sense when the old one is so old
it's unplayable by today's standards.
There's a large amount of people that are interested in dungeon crawlers that might not have the ability to play that, or just might not know about it, and that puts it back in the public eye so they can enjoy it, and also not have, Gen Z might think those graphics are very jank nowadays, and so therefore you have graphics that are pleasing to your eyes, but it's also like, hey kids, this is what your dad used to play down at the bottom of the screen there. So that's a good idea. I like that a lot. There's a bunch of games that are doing that. Like we'll get to it. My topic is going to be about the latest Nintendo Direct, and just going through everything they announced and kind of talking about that stuff. But one of those is remakes of the first 3 Tomb Raider games, and it does something very similar where even though it's going to be widescreen and everything, you can switch back and forth between the PS1 graphics and a more updated, upscaled graphics, and you can, with a touch of a button, you can switch back between the two. So I like that kind of stuff. You can kind of play in whatever way you want. So that's a good way to do it. All right, so thank you, Mike and Ryan. You guys definitely had strong opinions on these, and we appreciate those. And some points that we didn't make too, which was really cool.
Yeah. Way to round out the discussion there.
Yeah.
That was good.
All right, moving on. Joe, what music do you have for us?
My track, I thought gave this one a lot of thought, and ultimately decided on Possum Springs from Night in the Woods, released for Everything back in 2017, composed by Alex Haloka. And we're back. That was Possum Springs from Night in the Woods, released for everything back in 2017, composed by Alec Haloka. Ah, my friends, autumn is here. There's a chill in the air. You could wear a hoodie on the floor of the Senate, and the bugs are back in hell where they belong. I love this time of year. Autumn in New England is the greatest time and place to be anywhere. Prove me wrong. Therefore,
I'm not going to. I agree with you.
Therefore, my topic for today: what is your favorite autumn or fall themed video game level / area / world? I'm remembering specifically the Banjo-Kazooie level. I'm remembering the Conker's Bad Fur Day level. I'm remembering also Stardew Valley. Just almost every big open world game or game with a level of each I'll say like weather type has a fall level to it. And I love them all. This is just the best time of year. What about you guys?
Well, Castlevania immediately comes to mind. Basically, Castlevania, the series. What was that game that you basically required that I play? It was like a puzzle game. Started with a C. I want to say like Crisis or something. Or
Crosscode?
Crosscode. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I remember how to very,
autumn level in that.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely.
Well, all of the levels in that were incredibly well done, but it did have a one type of level for each. Like a summer level, an autumn level, a winter level.
I love the color palettes. I just love everything about it. I'm just so happy this time of year. It can't get better. I would go for an entire year of mid-September through the end of October. And that's before we even get into talking about spooky season. That's around the corner. No, I'm just thinking just autumn right now. Oh, it's the best.
I mean, they kind of go hand in hand, don't they?
I love that too, but
But autumn also rolls into like Thanksgiving, so you've got that post-spooky season.
Yeah, I'm talking about autumn. I love spooky season, but this isn't that. That's next month. This is just autumn or fall themed stuff. Ed?
I don't like autumn that much. Sorry.
Monster.
I am much more of a spring. I'm much more of a winter spring person. I don't know. Even though my birthday's in October in the middle of autumn, and I don't know, raking leaves, and it's just rainy and cold, and I don't know. And it's never so like to answer your topic, autumn levels, like I kind of like looked at this question for like 15 minutes and was like, I can't remember a single autumn level in a video game. The first thing that came to mind though was Maple Treeway in Mario Kart 8.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
Which, not necessarily because of the autumn theme, it's just a really good track layout where you're just racing along the branches of the trees and you've got the cannon that kind of blasts you into the branches. I really like that level and I play that one a lot.
You're telling me Lawnmower Simulator doesn't have you walking around with a backpack leaf blower in autumn? And
no.
It's missing like an
spring
entire
and summertime
part of
just think about all those purple leaves you
the
could pick
lawn
up.
mowing
It's
business.
not raking simulator. It's lawn mowing simulator.
I think that's the only thing that could make it even worse.
No, I hate raking. Raking is like my least favorite task in the entire world. I'm so glad that my neighbor and us have both like collectively taken down like 15 trees in our backyards. We used to do over 20 bags of leaves for that tiny little backyard. It was just completely surrounded by ancient trees. And now we do like, I don't know, between 7 and 10 bags, which is still a lot for something that small, but half the amount of work. So leaf raking is like, I look at the backyard and I'm like, I hate this fucking season. I can't stand it.
Wow, strong feelings.
Yeah. No, it's bad.
I don't know if we could be friends anymore.
I'm sorry.
I think Joe and I are resigning from this podcast as of this episode.
It'll just be Ed exclusive from now on.
VG Edbassy.
Yep. So yeah, there's that. There's a couple of SnowRunner levels which do take place in autumn, one in Maine and one in British Columbia, Canada, which is cool. I mean, I like the scenery there, and I don't have to rake those leaves, so that's fantastic. But they do kind of add in little fall kind of things where there's like pumpkin patches, and you can run over them and squish all the pumpkins, and whenever you like winch onto a tree, like orange and red leaves kind of like shake down to the ground from them and stuff. So kind of makes you feel like you're there in the season.
Ed's the autumn Grinch.
Oh, man.
It's not that yeah, okay. Sorry. My bad.
Utopia Nemo
So
says,
I'll do a springtime one, and next May, and you guys will be like, I don't like this one.
I mean, spring is fine. Summer is where I start drawing the line.
See, I kind of like summer. I don't know.
too hot.
God, do I like every season except for fall? That's weird. There are good things about it.
Oh, man.
I don't really like summer that much, but I'm definitely a winter spring guy for sure. That's my favorite 6 months of the year. So I have to just get through Thanksgiving, and then I will get into the weather that I like.
Contrary to what you might be thinking, folks, that was not the unpopular opinion gamer we're listening to here.
The unpopular opinion season experience, or anyways, moving on. Let's hear what the listeners have to say.
Utopia Nemo says, I hate to sound like a broken record, but my favorite autumn level is Mount Congo from Sekiro.
Oh,
why?
good one, yeah.
Because A, it's freaking beautiful, and B, I literally can't think of any other autumn levels right now. And
It's tough.
a YouTube link is included, which I'm guessing is...
It was just video of that level,
Video of the
in case
level.
people weren't.
No, that one's awesome. Bedroth writes, having just finished Sea of Stars, I remembered how much I love Eric's Autumn Hills music, which makes appearances in both this and The Messenger. There are 4 versions across both games, past, future, and day-night.
Oh, so there's some fall stuff in Sea of Stars too?
Not that it's fall, but the song that he's talking about definitely plays at certain points.
Oh.
A certain point in the game.
Oh, I haven't gotten to that yet.
Interesting.
That sounds cool.
Okay, cool. Ryan Steele says, and again, has strong opinions.
Yeah.
Favorite fall theme? Well, I must say this is a double banger. A triple even. Typically, I play a video game while waiting in the grain cart during harvest where I farm, since I haven't made it abundantly clear to the hosts on this show that I farm, even when I did a whole episode with Ed on it. It looks like the squad are faithful listeners of their own show. Joe. Anyways.
It's my world. You guys just live in it.
So for a while I was playing Castlevania games while waiting between dumps from the Combine. So my fall game is also a spooky Halloween game. Castlevania is a fall game because the vibe is dead trees and spooking. When you ask an artist what season would I draw, Alucard looking pensively into the moonrise, bare chest rippling, tight core, trench coat wavering. What season would it be? Spring? The season of life? Surely not. Summer? Too hot for trench coats, and skeletons don't rattle on anything over 25 degrees Celsius. That's right, Celsius, you savages. Winter? Pfft, I think not. Alucard would be wearing a parka and hoodie and a toque. Also, zombies can't move in winter due to their bodies being frozen. This is fact. It's simple, sound logic. Thus, Castlevania is peak fall gaming. It screams, this is Halloween. It's got the Dracula, it's got it all. To clarify, I do mean to say all Castlevania games, except for maybe the games featuring Soma, Arya/Dawn of Sorrow, as they to me feel more like winter games. That's true. Castlevania games will often have winter stages or even all types of stages, but in general, they are very fall aesthetic games.
Amen.
Yep, as you were saying, Joe, Castlevania's definitely got that vibe going for it for sure. Lots of dead trees, but not snowy necessarily, like the end of fall where everything's just finally gone into its hibernation state.
Red Hua writes, first game I'd say is the Golden Grove area of Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a great one. I mean, it's literally Studio Ghibli meets autumn color forest aesthetic. A painting come to life. Enough said. Second is DKC Tropical Freeze Autumn Heights. That was the track I was going to pick before I ended up on the one I did. I just love that dynamic energy of that game's levels, and Autumn Heights is no different with the pleasant colors of decaying leaves next to a deep, misty European forest mountain backdrop and the rainy lake. Third, I'd say Chrono Trigger. Besides being one of my favorite games of all time, I think this is the first game I played that had such a great autumn forest vibe and was so well designed and lively rather than using generic props. I think my favorite part would be the prehistoric jungles, just due to how the story shifted gears by that point and went in a strange direction. Fourth, Valkyria Chronicles 2, Autumn Chapter. Aside from having a beautiful menu track for that season, courtesy of Hiroshi Sakamoto thank you. Hitoshi Sakamoto of Final Fantasy XII fame, among others. I really liked how chill that chapter was compared to other seasons. And if memory serves, it focused on more lighthearted school activities rather than advancing the otherwise dark plot. And finally, I want to give honorable mentions to Firewatch.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Life is Strange. They take place in autumn and are set in some of the most picturesque regions of the United States, Wyoming and the Pacific Northwest, respectively. And the studios did a great job of bringing those two qualities to life in the game.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Firewatch. And Life is Strange. It takes place right at the beginning of the school year, so that's definitely like a September, October.
I don't think I know Firewatch. What sort of game is it?
It is a walking simulator / adventure / puzzler kind of a game.
Yeah.
Really
I'd say
good.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it, but I have played it, and it's really good.
Yeah, no, I played that through a couple times. Really, really good story.
I'll have to check out some gameplay of it.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of like reading a book but playing a game in first person kind of games. I think you'd enjoy it.
Cool.
Yeah, so thank you, Redua, Ryan, Bedroth, and Utopian Nemo. Evidently, you guys are much more into autumn levels than I am, and had some great examples there that I never would have even thought of. However, if I had thought of Firewatch, that would have been in my
For sure. Yeah.
my answer. Absolutely, it's just been so long since I played that game. I should probably give it a quick run through again.
I should get back to it.
You should. All right, let's move on to our final topic. I'm going to play a track from the new F-Zero 99 released for Switch in the 2023, composed by James Phillipson. The cool thing about the soundtrack is it's got new music composed in the original F-Zero SNES style, so we get some extra like bonus F-Zero compositions. So this is Snail Mode. Let's hit it. All right, that was Snail Mode from F-Zero 99, released on the Switch in 2023, composed by James Phillipson, based on the original compositions for the F-Zero SNES game from Soyo Oka. And Phillipson's worked on other Nintendo games like the later Wave Race games. So he's been a Nintendo composer for a while. So I guess they brought him back for some F-Zero style compositions, which is pretty cool. And that brings me to my topic. I picked F-Zero 99 because that was announced at the Nintendo Direct, which was earlier this month. And it was just so jam-packed with so much good stuff that I felt like maybe we should talk about it on the show, talk about what our favorite aspects of it is. Like 28 new games were announced or something. It was absurd.
Man, it's a good thing we have painstakingly researched this ahead of time.
Yes, we didn't just stop for a half an hour and watched all of the trailers that Joe and Todd didn't see.
Yes, admittedly, I did not see the Nintendo Direct. I was out of town and never went back to actually watch it. So my first viewing of most of these games was within the last 20 minutes or so.
That's cool. Yeah, it was like it aired at like noon. So instead of going home for lunch at work, I just went out and got some food and then watched it at work while I ate. So it was fun. It was really easy to kind of get everything. It was like 45 minutes long or something. So it worked out well. But I did see a bunch of stuff that I liked and that I wanted to talk about. Were there any highlights for you guys as we went through them just now?
Well, I love the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games. So
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun.
Kind of excited about that.
I'd never played the original one, but after seeing the trailer, I'm going to go back and play the original one and get excited about the one coming out in February.
Super Mario RPG, obviously.
I'm super pumped, as you guys saw while we watched the trailer, about Contra. That looks amazing.
Yeah, the new Contra game looks real good.
The new Contra game looks good.
Oh, man.
That kind of like full circles back to the beginning of the show where we're talking about remakes, spiritual sequels, etc. They do really call back to the older games in this new Contra Operation Galuda. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully some great music too. It is from Way Forward. I know Jake Hoffman isn't with them anymore, but their soundtracks continue to be top notch even without him. So I think hopefully we'll get some good new Contra tunes out of that one.
I'm not sure how I feel about Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. It might be old enough now where it fits into that, like it's been long enough where it, bears a repeat playing or can be upgraded enough to be a new experience for the people that missed it the first time around.
That was GameCube originally?
That was GameCube originally.
But because of the art style of it, did it really need... I don't think it needs a graphical upgrade.
So I think in this case, the length of time is probably the main catalyst, because I'm looking at someone like Logan, where when the game came out, he was way too little for this. Now he's like 12, 13 years old. He can finally play that kind of a game. So I think the generation of younger kids that would enjoy Thousand Year Door are ripe for this now, where they were like, in third or fourth grade when it came out, and it was just too above their age level.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So if we're looking at it from a youth standpoint,
it's a great game,
good
but
operation.
I would prefer another like well done Paper Mario game. The last couple have been a little bit lacking when you compare them to earlier iterations of the series.
I think if you want a quality Mario RPG, you should just stick with the Mario and Luigi stuff on the handhelds.
Yeah, those are great games too.
Yeah. So I'm excited about the tactical games War Tales and Wargroove 2. I especially am looking forward to Wargroove 2 because I enjoyed the first one and am a fan of the classic Fire Emblem games, which this very obviously is an homage to. Maybe even more than that. I don't want to say it's like a ripoff of, but it's almost exactly the same thing. But if you're into that, I sense that this will be a very good game.
Yeah, they just borrowed a lot and then added their own kind of characters and storyline to it, so...
But the look and feel is almost identical.
Sweet. There's a new Saga game coming out. The Tomb Raider Remastered, which I mentioned briefly at the beginning. It's all three, Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 in full. But you can, like I said, with the push of a button, switch between original PlayStation graphics and a slightly updated, basically higher resolution, smoothed textures. But it looks like the geometry is mostly the same, except for the like Lara Croft model, which now has actual round boobs instead of triangle ones. Hardly boing. And the Princess Peach Showtime game looks really good.
Yeah, I think once my kid gets a little older, that's the kind of thing she would really dig. I'd love to play that one with her.
Yeah, it's got multiple different kinds of gameplay. Each level is a different, whether she's a pastry chef or a detective or a martial arts expert. Every level has a different style of gameplay to it. It looks like something that kind of can stay fresh all the way through.
I'm kind of cautiously interested in the Prince of Persia game. I like the Prince of Persia franchise. I kind of need to see more of what it's going to be.
Yeah, this one mixes the 3D Prince of Persia games with the perspective and gameplay style of the original Prince of Persia. So it's, like I said, a little bit more like flashback, but kind of action, or like a cinematic action platformer kind of a game. I was kind of into it. That's, I think, the only trailer we didn't watch, but we can watch that in a little bit.
The other one that looked interesting to me that I'm hopeful isn't overly cutesy is Bandletale. I thought that one had some potential. I'd give it a shot, but I could see myself being turned off if it's a little too cute for me.
Yeah. Definitely cute in terms of art. I don't really know what the gameplay is like. I saw a lot of farming and fishing and kind of caring for your areas. I don't know if there's any real combat or adventure involved, so that's something that we can look at as it comes out as well.
I also thought the rhythm game looked pretty good. What was that one called again? Not the trombone one, but
Rhythm Kingdom?
Super Crazy Rhythm Castle.
Yeah, it's like a 4-player rhythm game.
Yeah, I like those kind of games, so I could see myself like just chilling out and playing that and having fun with it.
It's cool. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. See, so there's another remake situation where I am down for that because the original was on a handheld.
Yeah, that's the one for 3DS, right?
Yeah. And so,
not Dark Moon. That's a different game, right?
Well, Dark Moon is 2.
Yeah, it is Dark Moon. Okay.
Yeah. So Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon HD is basically what it's going to be called. Dark of the Moon, I think is what is the full title. But I'm just not really a handheld person, so having it on a console will probably help me see it through. So there's that. What else is going on here? New WarioWare, which we were kind of met on. Some DLC for Eastward, which folks that are into like Earthbound and those kind of RPGs, it's very similar, so that should be cool. Dave the Diver, which you were excited about.
Yeah, I loved me some Moonlighter, and Underwater Moonlighter is what this looks like. It's been recommended to me by a bunch of people. I had planned to give that a shot for PC, but I think now I'll just wait for it to come out for Switch.
I've heard it's got a really good soundtrack, too.
You kind of glossed over WarioWare. I loved the WarioWare series, and I've played most of them, really. But this control scheme that they're setting up in this one is really what's turning me off to it.
Yeah, you've got to use the Joy-Cons to put yourself in different kind of positions. I think they did something similar to that in the original Wii version of WarioWare 2, where they would tell you to position yourself in a certain way, but this looks even more ridiculous than that was. Oh, I think with the original with WarioWare on the Wii, they would just tell to hold it vertical, hold it horizontal, hold it like a NES controller, that kind of a thing. But this one is like they want you to like put it on your forehead or like do some crazy stuff with it.
Yeah, right.
So, and that, and also the fact that the Joy-Cons are so friggin' flaky, like I don't know if it's gonna translate very well if you don't have great working controllers, which most people don't at this point. The last booster course for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as of now, that game has so many friggin' tracks, it's unbelievable.
You can't possibly want more content for Mario Kart.
I'll take as much as I can get. I love that game.
I mean, I'll download it, I'll play the new levels, but I mean, there's no shortage.
No. Yeah. And that's, it's funny because when it originally got released, I was like, oh, so they just basically took all of the DLC from the Wii U version and dumped it into a complete game, and that's all they're gonna have. And then they like doubled the course content like 2 years later out of nowhere. So I thought that was really cool, and I've really been enjoying all the DLC they've been putting out for 8 Deluxe.
Same here.
That means that 8 Deluxe is now done. So maybe there's a new Mario Kart on the horizon. Maybe they'll finally do Nintendo Kart, which I've been like hoping they would do forever. That would be a great addition to like the next version of whatever comes out after the Switch.
You would need a lot of licenses to pull that off, though.
No, just Nintendo first-party characters. Introduce like the Zelda world, Metroid world.
I gotcha.
Just have like the Super Smash Brothers of Mario Kart.
Right, they clearly have no shortage of characters if you look at Smash Brothers. So
yeah.
I think they
and they have good relationships with HAL and Bandai and Namco, and they can put Pac-Man and Sonic and like whoever they've got a license deal with Smash Brothers. I'm sure they can do the same thing with Mario Kart and get away with it easily. It works out in everybody's favor. Yeah, so there's like 28 something games, but those are the games that really caught our attention. Just a lot of stuff coming out for the holidays. I feel like if there were an E3, this probably would have been a lot of the stuff that they announced around that time, but because it got canceled, they just sat on it for a little bit and then announced it all at the beginning of this month. So it's going to be a good holiday season. A lot of these are coming out like early 2024, summer 2024. Even that Contra game is like early 2024. Dan Lawton and I have been trying to do this run and gun episode forever, and we pushed it back once because there's a particular game coming out that's not out yet. We want to wait until it's out in November before we do it so we can share some content from it. And then they announced freaking Contra, so now Dan's like, let's push it back until that comes out so we can add that. I'm like, okay, fine. So I was like, that's the last one. If we wait until like, March and it comes out and then they announce like Gunstar Heroes remake, like we're not pushing it back one more time. So he promised that when that game comes out, we will officially put that show out. So I'm holding you to that, Daniel.
That game looks like so much fun.
It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it too. It'll be worth it to share on the show for sure. So that's pretty much it for the show. It's been a wacky ride. There's been so much cool stuff coming out. I am really looking forward to playing a lot of these games. And
it's a good time to be into video games.
We are in a golden age, my friends.
Yeah, and it's like, the Switch is aging pretty hard, but they're still releasing good new exclusive content for it, which I thought is great too.
I mean, the hardware was showing its age when it was released, but somehow they've managed to keep it alive.
Yeah.
I'm not bored of the system yet. Like, I still play my Switch regularly, despite its hardware.
It's inferior to the new consoles out now, but
it's inferior to pretty much everything at this point,
but it does what people want it to, and they keep releasing new content for it.
Right,
and
it still serves its purpose pretty well.
That's what I mean. It's exactly what you expect it to be, and it holds up. So, good work, Nintendo.
Yep.
Keep it up.
Yeah, Nintendo just keeps releasing the really good quality first-party titles, and everything else is just kind of bonus, I think, is why most people hold on to it like that.
I mainly use it as as a first-party system, certainly, your Zeldas and whatnot, but also as like an indie game system. It's great for indie games, particularly because it's portable, and all that.
That would be where my Steam Deck comes in, but yeah.
I don't have one of those.
No, I know that, of course.
But it's great for that stuff, at least for me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm more of a non-handheld person, so I just kind of keep it all on the monitor. Actually, I emulate a lot of the Switch games. Generally, I have 2 Switches in the house, but they're generally mostly used by Mila and Logan, so I don't want to fill up those SD cards with tons of games, so I just emulate most of them, and it works out pretty freaking well. So that about wraps it up for the show. If you guys are really excited about anything that was shown at the Nintendo Direct and you want to tell us about it, you can always find this post on the VGEmbassy.com and comment on the post. You can head over to the Discord and tell me there. You can even post on the Patreon wall. Let me know what you think. And as usual, look out for new episodes of the VG Embassy at the middle of every month and Embassy exclusive at the end of every month, as well as patrons looking forward to a bonus VGM primetime around the release of the VG Embassy at the middle of the month as well. I'd love to thank all of my Patreon supporters, starting at the tourist level: Cameron Childs and the Phantomire, our VG emissaries, Periodical, aka Alan, Chris Murray, Chris Myers, Mike Stark, Keyglyph, Kyle Kroll, The Dyad, The Last Rican, and Professor Tom, our audio attaché members Cam Worma and Carlos, and Scott McElhone, and our special agent Ryan Steele. Our theme song was composed by Jason Latorno. Thank you for that.
I was just going to say Farmer Steel.
Farmer Steel? Oh, yes. Steel Farms.
Steel Farms.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah?
Ryan's a farmer.
So I've heard.
Yeah. I didn't know either. That's crazy. Anyways.
Despite my best efforts, I have learned something today.
Yes. All right. So next month we will have some fun, spooky Halloween content for y'all. As usual, it'll be a blast, believe me. And we'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Later.
Bye.